MeatEater Radio Live. It's 11 a.m. Mountain Time on Thursday, May 1st, and we're live from MeatEater HQ in Bozeman, Montana. I'm your host, Brody Henderson, and I'm here today with Cory Calkins and Corinne Schneider, who is busy checking her stocks just recently. We'll talk more about that later, maybe, if we have time. On today's show, we're going to talk about Aoudad Sheep with Cory, Corinne, and a special guest from Texas Parks and Wildlife. We're also going to get a field report from some of our favorite turkey hunting gurus. After that, we'll share some wild game meals we've made recently, and we're going to wrap it up by speaking to a Montana regional wildlife manager about aerial big game surveys and a Bighorn Sheep hunting closure here in Montana. That'll be pretty interesting. It's also kind of a bummer, but hopefully we'll get some good news out of it too. Before we get in the show, I want to send out another request to all of our dedicated diehard fans to submit a photo of their effed up old truck for our 2026 calendar. We're still looking for images of unique hunting trucks. And for the folks who are watching today's episode on YouTube, Phil just put up an example of the kind of hunting rig we're looking for. We're getting a lot of good ones. We're getting some not so good ones, and we're getting some bad ones. But this is like a prime example of what we're looking for.
That's right. And Brody, this is what we're not looking for.
That is what we're not looking for.
We need to explain
I understand.
To the audience, though.
Yeah, there's just like some confusion on the effed up part of it.
Yeah, that's effed up, all right.
Yeah. Also, the formatting's wrong. See, I thought about fixing it, but then I decided not to because that's part of the bad image.
Yeah. We don't need pictures of wrecked trucks and ditches. So send us something like that first picture. And
what was that classic-looking red truck with a dead?
With a big old gobbler.
A couple of big spotlights on the front.
Yeah, I mean that's a hunting rig.
Yeah, you're not sneaking up on any elk in that thing.
Is that a fresh kill, or you think that guy drives that hunting rig with the bird on the front all the time?
Fresh kill?
I think.
Yeah,
that's a
probably.
fresh
But I wouldn't doubt there's been a deer on that hood.
Well, as a matter of fact, that gentleman sent us a picture of that same truck with another good picture with some bucks.
Be kind of cool to
calendar worthy.
Oh yeah, man, we're gonna have to take a look at all of them. But here's the deal: send us a picture of your truck to fuckedupoldtrucks@themeateater.com, and over the next few weeks, we're gonna kind of get a collection of 50 to 100 of the best pictures we get. We're gonna put those on the website, and then you can go vote for the rigs that actually make the calendar. So you'll have a hand in deciding which pictures get in the calendar. The people who get their rigs in the calendar are going to get a sweet prize package, $250 MeatEater store gift card that's good across all the MeatEater brands. You're going to get a free BHA membership, and BHA is going to throw in some additional swag. The calendar is going to come out in a few months, like late summer, early fall. And here's why you got to buy it, because we're donating $2 from the sale of each copy of the calendar to BHA to help them keep fighting all these never-ending attacks on our public lands. So it's going to a good cause. You put that thing up in your garage and you feel good about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
So send us your pictures. We need more, folks. Moving on. You guys, Corinne and Cory, I'm a little jealous. You just went to go to the West Texas desert mountains to hunt for Aoudad. So I want you to give us a rundown of that hunt, and then we're going to be joined by a guest from Texas Parks and Wildlife to talk about some of the problems that these non-native sheep are causing for native wildlife. But first, just give us a rundown of your hunt.
Go for it.
Let's see, Corinne, her significant other, Matt, and myself were invited down to West Texas by Dr. Phil Lavretsky, who's been on the MeatEater podcast and this show more than once. The duck DNA, turkey DNA guy, good friend of ours. He invited us down to hunt Aoudad on the Indio Mountain Research Station, which is right on the border of Mexico, right on the Rio Grande in the Trans-Pecos region of West Texas there. We hunted 2 full days. gratefully, it wasn't as hot as it normally is in early April down there. We got really lucky and never saw temps over 70 degrees, I don't believe.
Yep.
The first day, we killed 2 ewes, which was kind of our primary goal down there, was to do what we can to minimize the Aoudad population on that ranch by taking a few ewes, females. There's Corinne's
my man.
boyfriend, Matt, with a beautiful ewe right at last light. That was pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's some cool looking country, man.
It was way more rugged than I expected.
gosh.
Did you get any,
Yep.
you step on any rattlers or get any cactus spines in your ass?
Definitely some cactus in the butt.
Was it Steve, or I forgot who? It's like who said something about like down there, like the thorns having thorns. I mean,
Yeah.
you couldn't grab hold of anything.
Everything wants to bite you, sting you, tear
But
you
it's
apart.
all spot and stock, yeah.
Yeah, all spot and stock. We drove around a little, but inevitably to find the sheep, we had to put a lot of miles, boots on the ground. And we killed those 2 ewes on day 1. And then day 2, Corinne, Phil, and I went out and glassed up this group of 23 Aoudad on it was actually the highest point on the ranch, 40,000 acre ranch. And we were able to stalk in, took a couple hours to stalk into 400 yards. And I was able to put down this beautiful ram. And Corinne actually harvested a nice sub-adult ram as well.
What do we got?
What
do we got there?
You, but
So
no.
in front of us is the
That's your
recently
that's your
Euro
right?
mounted ewe. There was a lot of fun to Euro mount, actually. You got to pop these horns off, and then you can boil the skull, bleached it, kind of glistened up the horns, and then glued them back on. Beautiful mount.
Nice work.
Thank you. Yeah, but the ewe meat is delicious. Very blown away by the texture and the flavor of the meat. The ram's a little tougher, but got about 100 pounds of meat off the ram.
He got
Yeah,
a
they're
ton of
they're
meat off
burly
that.
animals.
They really are. Yeah, he probably, before we field dressed him, weighed about 300 pounds. So he wasn't easy to roll around. We did make some, there's a photo up of us making, I think that was the ribs off of my ewe over the fire as we packed up camp. Made some.
Great last meal.
Now, if
Aoudad
Steve was here,
tacos.
he'd be tearing you up about how you're saying you.
Oh,
You?
Ooh?
Ooh?
You.
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 What did I say?
Ooh.
Did I?
I thought I said you.
Phil?
Who, me?
You?
Audio.
No,
engineer?
you. It's classic.
So you guys had a good
Then
time.
We did. It was a hell of an experience.
And
Yeah, tough hunting. Tough hunting for sure.
tough.
Tough.
Meaning tough,
I mean, really
like
tough.
physically tough.
Tough for maybe toughest for me. But yeah, it's really punishing territory. I mean, and those animals are robust to be able to live out there. It's dry. I mean, they eat forage, cactus. Maybe there's a little bit of water here and there,
Not
but
much.
yeah, they're it's tough to hunt them.
Well, that's a great segue into our first interview. Our first guest is Texas Parks and Wildlife's Desert Bighorn Sheep program leader, Froylan Hernandez. Froylan, we got you on the line.
Well, thank you
Can
for
you hear
having
me?
me, and glad to be. Yep, I can hear you.
Great.
Can y'all hear me?
Yep,
can.
you're
Loud and
coming
clear.
through.
Okay. Yep. No, thank you for having me on the show. Glad to be here.
So Froylan, these Aoudad, or you'll also hear them called Barbary sheep. They're native to like northern and western Africa, but in decades past they've been cut loose in places like New Mexico and Texas to provide additional hunting opportunities. Can you give us like a brief history of the Aoudad population in West Texas, and then we'll get into why there's such a big problem for desert bighorn sheep?
Yep. No. So again, thank you for having me. Ironically, the Texas Parks and Wildlife brought them in back in the mid to early 50s. They brought them in, as you say, as an additional game species. And there was also some private reintroductions. And they were up in the Palo Duro Canyon of the Panhandle of Texas, and then some in West Texas. And at that time, I don't think anybody envisioned that they would do as well as they've done. And so now they occur in all the mountains in West Texas. They occur up in the Palo Duro Canyon and again in the Panhandle. and also in Central Texas, and they've done really, really well. Just in the Trask Acres of Texas, we estimate that there's probably 20 to 25,000 aoudad in those West Texas mountains.
So there's 25,000 of those suckers out there. What's your best guess on like a historic high population of like how many bighorns used to occupy the mountains of West Texas?
Yep. Well, and so back in the 1880s, there were estimates of 1,500, 2,500, up to even 3,000. And up until recently, about 5-6 years ago, we had hit that historic high again. We were seeing 1,500 animals, 1,500 bighorns in the West Texas mountains. In 2019, we've got our first disease event, and we are now, we've lost over 50% of the herd. We've got about 600 or 700 bighorns in the state, when just 5 years ago, we were up to, again, 1880 levels.
And that disease event, that's pneumonia, I'm guessing?
Correct. We've had 3 independent disease events since 2019, and that's the Mycoplasma ova pneumoniae, or the MOV, that causes pneumonia.
Are the Aoudad transmitting that to the bighorns, or are the Aoudad just out competing them for resources? Like what kind of problems are the Aoudad actually causing for the native desert bighorns in Texas?
It's a combination of those two things and others, but those two things. And so the Aoudad do carry that MOV. We've done research in pen conditions, pen setting, and the Aoudad are able to transmit that bacteria to the desert bighorns. We have not definitively proved that in a wild setting, but we've tested 13 different mountain ranges in West Texas, and in all 13 mountain ranges, we have found that Aoudad carry that bacteria, and in some cases, up to 60% of the animals that we've sampled carry that bacteria. So it's a huge problem from a disease standpoint. The competition, they completely outcompete the bighorns, not just through because of numbers, but also they're just a bigger, hardier animal. They hoard the bighorn ewes and push off the bighorn rams, and so Aoudad rams create their own bighorn harem type of deals. So they're socially disruptive. I mean, it's just you name it. They just outcompete the bighorns, and that's just from a competition standpoint. In the numbers that they occur, they just devastate the habitat. There's places that the countryside is almost peeled to the ground, and that's simply just a density result of the high densities that they occur in.
Yep. So this is like a problem that's not necessarily unique to Texas, but Texas is, I think, something like 98% private land. And the area where these Aoudad are living is also almost exclusively private land. And you've got a lot of landowners that are charging folks to go hunt for Aoudad. So my question is, like, can hunting really have an impact, and is it a challenge with getting landowners on board to really knock back those Aoudad numbers through hunting?
Yeah, well, and so you got two things going on there. One is the hunting aspect of it, and as you mentioned, landowners, do it's supplemental income for landowners, but just from a sheer number perspective, a density perspective, hunting alone is not going to reduce the numbers down to levels that aren't detrimental to the habitat or that they don't compete with our native ungulates. And so when you have 20 to 30,000 bighorns out on the landscape and only a few hundred bighorns, I mean, it's just a huge challenge for us to overcome. I will say that the mindset is changing. Landowner mindset is changing, and they are recognizing that the Aoudad not only have negative impacts on our bighorn, but also on mule deer. And we're looking at that.
I was going to ask you about mule deer.
Yep. So we've got research looking into that, and so you got the Aoudad out competing the bighorns. They're also wreaking havoc on mule deer populations and the habitat, and so landowners are finally realizing that too many Aoudad on the landscape are detrimental. So we don't want. We Texas Parks and Wildlife would like to see all Aoudad gone, but realistically, that's not a realistic goal, and so we're working with landowners to lessen those densities, decrease those densities to levels that aren't detrimental to our native ungulates or the habitat.
What's that kind of work look like? I mean, like, do you see a potential of Aoudad, getting knocked back to the point where there's a healthy desert bighorn population again, and like what kind of human intervention does that involve?
It's gonna require partnerships. I mean, there's no two ways about it. It's gonna require partnerships with Parks and Wildlife, with landowners, with NGOs, with the hunting community, to be able to address that monumental challenge. And it's not going to happen overnight. And it's going to require everyone getting on that same ship and saying, okay, we've got to do something. We've got to decrease the population, the Aoudad populations, dramatically for there to be change. And again, I'm pretty optimistic. I like to consider myself an optimistic person, but I do realize I'm also a realist, and I do realize that it's not going to happen overnight. And so we got our work cut out for us. And when I say we, I'm not just talking Texas Parks and Wildlife. I'm talking landowners, NGOs, the hunting community. Just everybody's going to have to get on board to be able to move in a positive direction.
Great. So can you crystal ball a future for desert bighorns in say 20 years? Like, even like if you're being super optimistic, like you like what you would like to see eventually happen.
Well, and so my goal, and I'm charged with that responsibility, but my goal, professional and personal goal, is to see the West Texas mountains, all of the West Texas mountains that are considered historical bighorn range, for them to be occupied by bighorns. And so can we do that? Yeah, absolutely. We can do that. But again, as I mentioned, we all going to have to, kind of roll up our sleeves and get to work. We just did a capture and translocation from our only clean source in the state, and that's Elephant Mountain Wildlife Management Area. We captured 77 bighorns. We took them over, translocated them over to the Franklin Mountains, which are situated within El Paso. And we hope that population there does well. It takes hold. It becomes, sustainable on its own. And then it grows, and we're able to do captures and translocations off of there to other mountain ranges. So, again, I'm optimistic that we're able to do that, but we need to address the Aoudad densities first.
Yep.
Gotcha. You mentioned some NGOs. What are some NGOs people can throw a little cash towards to help out?
Two of our greatest partners are the Texas Bighorn Society and the Wild Sheep Foundation. They've been with us through thick and thin. They've supported us, financially as well as logistically. So those two organizations have been at the forefront with us, trying to attack these issues. But then you also have, in fact, I was at a conference just last week and talking to some folks from Grand Slam Club, Ovis. We got the Texas Wildlife Association, Dallas Safari Club, Houston Safari Club. Any conservation organization, they lend a hand. But our two greatest partners is the Texas Bighorn Society and the Wild Sheep Foundation.
Great. Okay, last question, Froylan. Aoudad get a bad rap as table fare. What's your favorite way to eat those things?
Man, I love them. And they do get a bad rap, and I think they get a bad rap because most of the animals that are harvested are tough old rams, and so as you might suspect, it's probably not as tasty as a lamb or a ewe. And so Cory was mentioning that I heard that he harvested a couple of ewes and they were a great tasting. Man, I love them. I grew up on goat. I love it. To me, it tastes very similar to goat. You got cabrito. You can do it in birria. You can do some steaks. You name it. I've done some sausage. I process my own meat, And so I've done some Aoudad sausage, and that's the best eating sausage that I've had so far. So they're good eating. I would like for people to try them a little more, maybe change that perspective or change that attitude, because they are good
for
eating.
sure. I want to come down there and have you cook for us.
Yeah, we're gonna hit you up for some recipes after you jump off the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all come down. Y'all come down. I'll definitely burn some meat for y'all.
Well, great, Froylan. Thanks for checking in with us and learning us up on this. It was real interesting talking to you.
Much.
Yeah, man. Drive safe.
No, you bet. Thank y'all again. Appreciate what y'all do. Your interest in getting the story out, man. It's awesome. Y'all do great work.
Great. Thanks, man. Have a good day.
You think likewise.
Gosh, that's really interesting. I didn't realize that the Aoudad rams gather bighorn females.
Yeah.
I think I think he was more saying they
push them out, but
real aggressive. Yeah.
Well, I guess there is evidence that the rams will gather harems,
and then the
females.
bighorn rams just can't get to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got to wonder if out competing, just in their blood to be kind of bullies, and they think they're all badass until a bullet hits them.
Yeah. Well, you guys make me want to go down there and hunt them now.
It's pretty fun.
But I'm a turkey hunter this time of year. And next up, we've got some regional turkey hunting reports. Oh, it's music to my ears.
Wow.
It's my favorite two sounds in the world.
Get him while he's gobbling.
We got we're going to check in with Giannis, Brent, and Doug and get a report from those guys first.
Turkey report from southern Colorado. Giannis Patelis and Steven Ranella. As you can see, we've got a couple dead birds. We actually had 3 in the last 3 days. But the turkey hunting has been tough. We found them on the roost. They've gobbled good on the roost. Once they hit the ground, they've been silent. We killed 2 of the latest birds we've ever killed. The one fellow that was here for the TRCP hunt killed a bird at about 7:30, 7:40, and I killed a bird almost at 8 o'clock last night. Now, Steve, anything to add to that?
No, it's been tough. They're glued to the hens. Guys will be like, "Oh, they're all henned up," but glued to the hens. The turkeys we've killed, I mean, to be honest with you, we've had to bushwhack our turkeys. We've had to hunt them like spot and stalk turkey hunting. After a lot of calling attempts.
I'm hunting at one of my most favorite places with some of my most favorite people. It's Missouri turkey season, week 2. Yesterday, first day that I got here, it rained all day. It was cold and miserable, and my hunt was cold and miserable, but I was turkey hunting, and that beats work any day. No gobbling from the roost, no gobbling from the ground yesterday. Didn't even see a gobbler where I was hunting. This morning, a new day, a new hunt. No gobbling from the roost. Just a little bit of wind, it was cloudy. You would think there'd have been gobbling, but as luck would have it, you didn't. So it was discouraging to say the least. But if you stick with it long enough, if you're going to be a turkey hunter and you're committed to being a good one, you got to stay with it as long as you can. Sometimes patience is a virtue. It's gobbling time in Missouri.
Nice.
Well, we're hearing the report from Stan. What's that? What did you hear down there? You?
One gobble this morning after 6:30.
Wow. How about before?
I heard a couple of them.
Huh. Well, so they quieted down. This is a report from Southwest Wisconsin. I still think that if you're out hunting turkeys in this area, the best thing you can do is find a spot where they're likely to be wanting to move and be patient and stay there. We certainly employ that strategy at the first part of the season, really sitting in blinds or finding a location and finding a good tree to lean up against and stay on. But keep the running and gunning to a minimum. We've done really well with that strategy. We're 7 for 7. Kiefer is the first one so far. It hasn't got one, but this was just the first day of it. It's April 30th. the first day of season C in Wisconsin. And that is the report from here. Be patient and stay after them.
Yeah, Dougie.
Nice. Thanks, guys.
Man, I don't know about Giannis and Steve. Maybe they're just not good at calling turkeys. Everyone else is getting them.
Yeah, it was interesting while they're filleting some breasts on the tailgate.
Yeah.
But they had to earn them, it sounded like. It looked like it was hot down there.
Yep. I've been out a couple times here in Montana. The season opened the 15th. I killed one opening day.
Nice.
Like classic, gobbling on the roost, gobbling a little on the ground, and then worked on him for an hour and killed him. And then went out last week and got a couple with my boy. So it's been good here in Montana. It's always the thing where they gobble like crazy on the roost and they slow down for a while, and then it seems like an hour after they hit the ground, the hens leave them and the gobbling picks up. So like it's been good here. That's really all I can say.
Yeah, it sounds like there's been a lot of success around the office.
Yeah.
Opening day especially.
And I think it's like any other kind of hunt. Like someone's hunting in one spot and it's like, they're not gobbling here. And like you talk to someone who's hunting 10 miles away or 20 miles away and they're like, they're gobbling like crazy. They came running in. So like regionals is a regional report's good, but I think it's like real important to like know what's going on a like micro level, local level too.
Yeah.
We went turkey hunting. This is only the second time I've ever gone. We saw four different hens came real close, but no gobbles.
No gobbles.
No gobbles. No.
You haven't been out. You've just been out bear hunting. Huh?
Yeah, I like to kill a bear before I go turkey hunting, which should have one down in 24 hours. Had a buddy miss one last Friday. It was a long shot though. Make sure your dope's accurate.
There you go. There's a good tip.
Hot tip.
All right, Phil, what do we got on the listener feedback here?
Oh, yeah, just a reminder. Let's get some questions in for the hosts, especially if they're specific to any of the hosts, Brody, Corinne, Cory. We had this question last week, but it's a whole different crew this week, and it's a popular question, I've noticed. But the Dubster is asking for those favorite turkey recipes other than standard frying. I'm guessing, I hear about nuggets all the time and schnitzel. That was the popular
that's
answer
all.
last
It's like 6 different versions of frying turkeys. They're all good. Something I like to do that's like my whole family loves is just slow cook, braise those thighs and drums and wings. Like it's a pain in the ass to cut turkey wings off of those birds, but it's worth it. Like you get 2 wings off of a gobbler and there's like a significant chunk of meat off of those wings. So you throw all that stuff in some stock, braise it for however long it takes, 5-6 hours. Then you pull all that stuff off the bone and just make tacos out of it.
What's a flavor profile that you're normally doing that?
You mean
with?
flavors?
Yeah, right.
Citrus and cumin, a lot of that.
That sounds good.
And you can fry that stuff, that pulled meat, and get a little crisp on it.
That sounds citrus
and
cumin.
Yeah, go to the MeatEater website and look for Danielle Pruitt's Tequila Turkey Tacos. That's my favorite way to eat those legs.
That sounds good too.
This one is something I know nothing about, but Jeremy asks, he says, I've recently been hunting pigs in close quarters with a Lever 357. Has anyone else had success with hunting with a pistol caliber rifle? Cheers from either Australia or Austin or Austria. We don't know. He cut off the word there, but
I've never done it. I don't see why it wouldn't work great if you were shooting them up close.
Yeah, never tried that.
Don't know.
Thank God we don't have pigs up here yet.
Brandon asks, Brody, what was more fun, competing on MeatEater roasts or judging on the show?
Obviously it's like, it's just way more relaxing judging. But it was fun cooking too. I don't know. I liked them both. You got Steve and Jesse were a little harsh with their judging.
They were harsh.
They're being mean, but
They were roasting.
I got thick skin. I liked them both. I'd like another crack at the cooking though.
Yeah.
This is going to be a Brody-specific question, I'm sure. But Nick asks, what advice does the crew have for someone trying to get their first turkey in Pennsylvania?
Definitely.
3 years, 0 turkeys, he says.
I would, I don't know, like Pennsylvania is a big-ass state with a lot of different kind of country. You could be hunting turkeys on a 20-acre chunk of private, or you could be hunting thousands of acres of state forest. So, like, I don't know, man. If I was hunting in the middle of the state where there's a lot of public land, I would kind of look at it like elk hunting out west and just like hike into some stuff that's just not getting hunted. But I don't know if that's Nick's situation here. If there's turkeys around and you're hunting a small chunk of private, take Doug's advice and just like find a good spot where there's turkeys passing through and just sit there as long as you can and just call now and then, and eventually something good's going to happen.
Cool. Let's see here. Jacob asks, hey, Cory, I was going turkey hunting this weekend and I might see a bear. I was going to carry my slug barrel too. I'm using a 20 gauge. Do you think if I keep it under 100 yards, I'm assuming, I could kill a bear?
Man, I'd get even closer than that. That's a long shot with a slug.
Yeah.
50 yards. I don't know,
Yeah,
that's
and just
me.
the idea of having to like, oh, there's a bear, change barrels, and then all it's like I'm not telling him not to do it, but he's making life awful difficult.
Yeah, I've done that before. I've carried shotguns around and a bow on my back because 'tis the season for both turkey and bears to be on the docket for hunting. But,
if you were hunting a spot where you could run bears with hounds,
yeah, there you go.
that slug gun will work just fine.
Yeah, shoot them out of a tree.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, get tight, man. That's 100 yards would be tough unless you're that confident. But I'd say get right in there and shoot him in the forehead.
McKenna is asking you guys what caliber you used on your Aoudad hunt.
I had a 300 Win Mag. Very trustworthy caliber I've used since I was 12.
I brought my 6.5, which would have been fine, but then I used Cory's rifle just because of the whole situation.
Yeah.
So.
It was all, we were set up on a rock pile surrounded by cactus and just found like the one little body shaped size that didn't have cactus. And I shot mine, and most of the Aoudad went off the cliff, but a couple stayed there, and Corinne jumped up and onto my gun that the dope was dialed and everything. And got
What
hers,
rifle
too.
was that? Sig Cross,
It's
that Sawtooth?
The Sawtooth, yep.
Were you
6.0
running a
Sawtooth.
suppressor on it?
Yep, got the...
So the recoil didn't bother you with that suppressor on there?
No,
Corinne?
not at all. Normally, recoil doesn't bother me
That's good.
too much for any kind of bigger guns I've shot, suppressed or not. That
Yeah.
normally doesn't bother me much. But a 6.5 would have been fine for that, and probably a couple other calibers would have been
Oh, yeah,
just
man.
fine for that. I probably would have used my 308 too on that hunt.
That would have worked.
For sure.
All right, we'll do one more here for this segment, then we'll move it along here. This is the big question, Corinne, but this is for you. Corinne, what is your most memorable moment outdoors? And I think we can narrow that down to the last 6 years or so since you've been working here.
Well, I would honestly have to say bits of this recent Aoudad hunt, I think, because it was so challenging for me. Traumatizing. No, it was just really tough. At one point, I was probably close to being dehydrated. The heights and the incline were pretty terrifying for me. So definitely memorable. There was a point where I was like I guess weakened by it all, that I said, like, I'm very grateful for the experience, but I'd never do it again. And obviously that's not true now that I've come through it.
Yeah.
But that hunt was probably up there. And then probably my second solo mule deer hunt. It was just very gratifying to take something on my own. That's always a little bit of a boost to know that you could be successful out there on your own.
That's huge.
And there you go.
Cool.
Is that it, Phil?
Yeah, we've
now?
got more coming in, but yeah, we can tackle. There's going to be another segment at the end of the show, so don't stop submitting questions, and we might tackle a few that people have already asked. So,
All right. It's time for MeatEater Menu.
And I said, hey, hey, hey,
Wow.
Oh,
Is that a new one, Phil?
That's a new one.
That's
Yeah.
brand new. That's
excellent.
so strong.
Excellent job.
Better do this again next week.
I mean, that's when I was editing that this morning, I was just laughing at how that's probably my most dumb one I've done. So,
I don't think so,
I love
man.
it.
so stupid.
It brings smiles.
Those notes made me cry.
Oh, good. That's what I.
All right. MeatEater Menu is when our hosts cook up a wild food dish, and we're going to share those dishes with you and show you a picture, and then we're going to do something a little different this time. We're gonna let the listeners decide who made the best meal, which is only based on a picture, of course. You know, you can't taste it, but the eyes are
Imagine the
important when you're
flavor.
eating food.
That's
so.
true.
Don't nobody be
That's
licking their
true.
computer.
Well, I'm glad I didn't end up cooking what I thought I may have had time to do. which
Why?
I
That's
didn't
what
do.
I wanted to
just
see.
I just had a busy week.
Well, tell people what you were gonna do.
Okay, so this past fall, a bunch of us with MeatEater experiences fished in Louisiana, and there were when we were cleaning fish, Steve and I cleaned up some fish head, and so I was gonna look into
Tuna,
know.
you're talking about.
Well,
Like
no, there's
you
two.
kept
Yeah,
some-
so we actually have it in our freezer here. We have some ginormous tuna head.
Yeah, I want one of those things.
But we also cleaned up the heads of the redfish and some
Yep.
others. So I think there were redfish heads that I brought home that I was thinking of doing some kind of grill or stew.
There's a
with, and-
surprising amount of meat when
There's a
you start
lot,
digging
yeah.
around in like certain kinds of fish heads.
Yeah, and the cheeks and
Yep.
kind
Collar
of that,
and-
the collar, and then there's actually like, I don't know, what do you call it? Forehead meat.
Sure.
Yeah. Dome meat.
Dome meat.
I mean, if nothing else, you can make a big batch of seafood stock. out of
Yep,
stuff,
that's right.
but-
That's right. Yep. And for some people, looking at a fish head, it does not conjure up like that real like, I want to eat you.
Yeah,
you know,
but
it
I mean,
that
people
just
cook.
depends. Yep.
People cook whole
That's
fish
true.
all the
Yep,
time
yep.
with the head
I
on.
mean, for me, I have associate looking at like fish head soup with yum, get in my belly. But I did not make that because I didn't have time, and instead, we are going to show some photos from the Canada Goose stir fry that I made on a recent MeatEater roasts episode.
Wow, that looks good.
So this was Yanni's Canada Goose from Arkansas, I believe. This is the first time I had ever cooked goose. I've never hunted goose, and this is probably, I don't know, the third time I've eaten goose. So not that much experience with the bird. And it was a really beautiful breast, and stir fry is something, I mean, I guess I didn't really get creativity points, but stir fry is something I whip up at home. It's pretty easy. And so I used soy, little bit of oyster sauce, I think was in the kitchen,
That's the
sesame oil,
nice thing about
sugar.
stir fries. You can just like
Do
it's
whatever.
perfect for
Yeah.
a roast because you can just kind of throw it together.
Yeah, you can,
however.
exactly. You can throw any sort of sauce or sauce
Yeah.
combination for a stir fry.
Delicious.
So how'd it turn out?
So one of the judges was my dear friend Linda Huang, who is a Chinese chef. And Yanni thought I was making a stir fry to, like, I don't know, make it easy for myself. But I told him that it was actually going to be more difficult because Linda's standards would be
Right.
very high. So she was surprised. I was surprised myself, but she was surprised that it turned out as it did. I just tried to not overcook the meat.
That's what I was
yeah,
going to
yeah,
ask.
yeah,
Like,
it was,
that
it was
would be
tender.
the challenge.
Yep,
That's
it was
good.
tender, and she had. I think that was the first time she's eaten Canada Goose, and she said if she didn't know, she would have thought it was like beef.
Yep.
Wow, nice work
Yep.
then. What's your
Well-
garnish on that?
Oh, there's some scallions and sesame seeds, and then the vegetables it was yellow pepper and some mushroom.
Man, it looks delicious. Tough to beat that one.
Cory?
Oh, let's see. Well,
Oh, wait. Here's
Oh,
another.
sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't remember how many pictures Corinne sent.
There it is,
that
going
was-
in the microwave.
Yeah.
This is
Here
not
we go.
Corinne's. Here we go.
Here we go.
Oh yeah, man, that looks good right now. Let's see.
It does.
I made a Black Bear California Crunch Wrap Supreme.
What?
Black Bear burger? Or is that like what kind? Like
So good.
So I took a black bear shoulder roast and braised it for 9 hours or so. Kind of forgot about it, honestly,
man,
but
that
that was
looks
probably
good.
for the best.
oh, look at the nice blaze on that bear.
Yeah, from a bear I harvested last spring.
What do they call that? A chevron? Or something?
Chevron. Yeah.
Looks like he's
Yeah.
wearing a suit. It's like a
Good thing he
tuxedo.
had that going for him because his back was rubbed off really bad. Got that late May, and he had already rubbed too many trees. But yeah, big old bear, 15-year-old black bear.
Wow.
Meat's delicious, every single morsel of it. But this was the last chunk of it. I figured I might as well eat it before I kill another one this spring. But I tried to copy Taco Bell's Crunch Wrap Supreme, and it's the California Crunch Wrap because I threw some avocado in there.
Yeah, explain the layering you got going on there.
Let's see, it's bear, a crispy corn tortilla, cheese, avocados, and some hot sauce. And then you just wrap it up all pretty, kind of like a quesadilla, but there's 2 flour tortillas all pressed and heated and warmed and melted and gooey. And then I got a little not homemade salsa to go with it there.
That looks great.
Yeah, it
You're
was
ripping
amazing.
off Taco Bell. You don't need homemade salsa.
Oh, it was pretty easy to outdo Taco Bell. Yeah.
Great. All right. The old fried turkey. We were talking about fried turkey just a minute ago. That there is a fried turkey sandwich. So you take a lobe or half of a turkey breast and slice that against the grain and get your cutlets and then just pound those things out. Then I like to soak them in buttermilk for a little while. And then it's you throw like one layer of the breading on, like you just get them in a dry breading. Then you dip them in an egg milk wash, and then get another layer of that breading on there. And I did these in my deep fryer. You can do them in a cast iron pan, with whatever, half an inch of grease in the bottom. I did these in the deep fryer. Honestly, this is how in my family we eat most of our turkey breast meat because my boys love it.
Yeah.
It actually stretches it out more than making just a big batch of nuggets. Like we always have leftovers for extra sandwiches from one lobe. Very simple, and it's just like a solid meal that my kids love. I love it too.
That looks so good.
And it's buffalo. I think it's like Frank's buffalo wing sauce on there.
Might as well.
All right, I'm going to put a poll up in the live chat right now. Who had the best MeatEater Menu dish? Was it Corinne's stir fry, Canada Goose stir fry, Cory's Black Bear California Crunch Wrap, or Brody's fried turkey sandwich?
And we're just going to come back to that later, Phil.
Yeah, how about after the interview with
Sure.
our next guest?
Yeah,
We'll check in there.
I don't know if anybody's paying attention or they're all talking to Spencer in the chat.
Yes.
Yeah, Spencer's always lurking in there, man. I don't like it. Is our guest ready? Can we move on to our next?
Our guest is waiting.
Okay, our next guest is Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Park Region 6 Wildlife Manager Scott Thompson. Scott, you there?
I am here. Hi, guys.
Gotcha. Welcome to the show, and thanks for chatting with us today.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for the invite.
Scott, can you tell us about your role with FWP conducting aerial big game surveys in Northeast Montana?
Yeah, you bet. So I am the Regional Wildlife Manager for Region 6. That area is a huge northeast corner of Montana from about North Dakota over to the Sweetgrass Hills, about halfway over to the front. So my role is I have the privilege of leading a team of wildlife biologists. They get to do most of the fun work in the field in the backseat of a Super Cub, counting critters. In my previous life, I did a lot of that for about 14 years. I was an area biologist as well. So, yeah.
And you guys do those aerial big game surveys like late winter, early spring. Is that typically the time you're out there doing that?
Yeah, it varies, but that is right for most of our big game species, except for antelope, which are summer surveys, where we're trying to get an idea of fawn production.
Yep.
And so we can react to changes in the population for the upcoming fall right away. So.
Gotcha. So when these biologists are going out in the plane to do a count, are they focused on one? They're like each flight has the goal of doing a survey for one species, or are they kind of gathering in all the information they can, or what's kind of the process?
Most of the surveys are designed to collect data on one species. So, for instance, some of the pictures here are during winter elk surveys in the Missouri River breaks, of course, at high elevation in those photos. But so the primary target then is elk, but biologists do record what we would call incidental sightings or observations of mule deer, other species encountered. The elk survey, we do also a Bighorn Sheep survey at the same time. So that is a dual purpose survey. But yep.
Gotcha. And what's the actual counting process look like? Like, are they sitting up there with a clicker, or like how are they doing the actual counting? Are these guys just good enough they can like look at that photo right there and be like, man, that's like 30 right there?
I challenge you to count elk once they get past about 30 to 50 in a bunch.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things that the biologists will do. So, the idea is to get the animals on a side profile that helps us not only count how many animals, but then they're also classifying. They're looking for how many calves are in the bunch, how many bulls or bucks are in the bunch. So oftentimes it's finding a group of animals and circling them. If they're in a super cub, for example, if they're in a helicopter, you're kind of moving with the herd, but both trying to count and trying to classify. And so it's a bit of a process. You might spend 5-10 minutes with a group till you really get a sense of what's in the group. Sometimes photography can help.
I was going to ask if that plays a role, like you come back later and count from pictures that you're taking.
Yeah. It's hard to get the classification data from a photo. Sometimes you can, but the photo really helps verify that, it's a snapshot. You can count it. When you have almost 400 elk in a group and you're trying to count that and they're all moving, that's pretty difficult.
Gotcha. So one of the main, other than getting the lowdown on how these surveys work, the main reason we wanted to talk to you today is Montana FWP was recently forced to close hunting for bighorn sheep in District 622 after a really drastic decline in sheep numbers in that unit in recent years. How many sheep were in that unit, say 10 years ago?
Yeah. So sheep numbers in that district have ranged between 150 and 300 animals that we observe on the survey. Our population objective is about 200 animals. So obviously it kind of varies through the years. So
Yep.
10 years ago, we had over 300 animals in that population.
Gotcha. And things were looking good back then, maybe too many in that unit.
Yeah, that really signaled to us to be a bit more aggressive, especially with ewe harvest, and provide a lot of either sex or ram harvest at the time. And so we were pretty aggressive, allowing quite a few hunters access to hunting there and trying to bring it back to about 200 sheep, which we did for a period of about 5 or 6 years.
And so how many, when you went out there to do your survey this spring, I'm sure you guys were already aware that there was a decline going on, but this spring when you did your aerial survey, how many sheep did you guys see in that unit?
Yeah, we were prepared for a reduction, but probably not what we saw, and that was 5.
Wow.
5 rams.
No
Hunters
use.
previous fall had some trouble finding sheep, so we knew something was going on.
And what is going on? What's the main driver for the decline in that unit?
Well, it is disease related. We were able to get some samples from both hunter harvested sheep last fall, an additional sample this spring. Pneumonia is a driver here, visible pneumonia in the lungs of several animals. And some recent lab work from those samples. There's a number of bacterias and pathogens in the herd. And we've known that for years, but this is the first time we've detected one of the key ones is Mycoplasma pneumonia. So we did detect that in the herd for the first time. So yeah, it's a complex thing. There's a lot of bugs that can affect sheep and respiratory health, and it looks like it hit them hard in 622.
And so the habitat there is in good shape. That's not playing a role at all here.
Yeah, habitat's good. We see the ups and downs with drought events.
Right.
Had a couple years of dry conditions, and we see lamb production suppressed during those times, and then they bounce back. But So no overlying habitat issues that we see.
So I've spent a little bit of time up in that part of the state, and I know there's sheep nearby, where these sheep kind of dropped off to nothing. Is there a concern about the sheep and units that are adjacent to 622 where these sheep had a really tough time?
Yeah, it did. This die-off did cause us to do just a quick check on those neighboring herds, and it looks like we're not seeing the same thing happen there. Thankfully,
Right.
we have pretty good separation. There's about 40 to 50 miles between those populations.
Mm-hmm.
So we can expect to have minimal interchange between those populations of sheep, but it can happen. Rams do go wandering at times,
Yep.
but at this point, we don't have any major concerns for those populations.
Is there any hope for a recovery in 622? Will sheep from those adjacent units maybe fill in, or will you guys maybe get active in putting sheep back in there, or are you just gonna kind of see what happens?
Yeah, a common question and a good question. I would say there's a lot of decision points between here and there.
Yeah, it's early.
We're probably on about step 2 of 10 in where do we go with this herd. And I think at this point, we really need to know more about, the MOV, it appears to be a new strain. And so learning more about, what does that mean? And then there are a few individuals, and we've learned of a few other individual sheep that hunters and recreationists have seen out there. So, there's a handful of sheep left. So it would be good to know what is their status before we take any additional steps.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot for talking to us. I know this is not necessarily the happiest discussion to have, but it's important for people to know what's going on out there. I mean, you're talking about a pretty well-known, pretty well-regarded area for sheep hunting. It's a place people, dream about drawing a bighorn tag. So hopefully the future's got some bright spots in it for those sheep up there.
Yeah, I hope so too. And we'll certainly be working hard to see if we can't recover that herd. It's still good habitat, and we have a lot of support to do that. So
Great. Well, thanks, Scott. It's been good talking to you, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
All right, Phil. Who made the best food in this room?
I would love to let you know. Let's end this poll. In third place with 16% of the vote, it was Corinne's stir fry.
Yeah,
Corinne.
that got my vote. That looked good.
And now in second place with 30% of the vote, it was Brody's sandwich, making Cory the winner, his black bear
Wants
crunch
to
wrap
eat
with
bear.
52% of the vote.
I feel
Taco Bell.
like that's Taco Bell and bear. People
I'm
just
a
want to
little
eat bear.
disappointed.
That's the way to everybody's heart. Little 2 a.m. Taco Bell.
I guess, man. I guess. A little rough.
Well, thanks everybody. It was just as good as it looked.
We got any other feedback to check in with, Phil?
Well, yeah, if you want to answer a few more questions.
Yeah.
Here. I'm going to answer this one for Ben, unless Corinne has some specific examples from the MeatEater podcast, but I can't think of any. But there might be some black bear hunt recaps. But Ben asks, is there a podcast devoted to DIY over-the-counter black bear hunts in Montana, like for degrees of difficulty, etc.? I would direct you to the wonderful Cutting the Distance podcast, which is hosted by our good friend Jason Phelps and Dirk. But yeah, you can go through that whole catalog. I'm not sure if he has a specific black bear in Montana one, but I can almost guarantee if you go even further back, when Remy Warren was the host, you'd probably be able to find some stuff there as well, because that's the podcast where you're going to find some very specific instances, specific situations, and how to cut the distance. It's kind of the whole thing of that podcast. So I would check that out.
Agreed. Go back into the archives on that one. Remy has multiple podcasts just related to that. Not Montana specific, but Western bear hunting.
A lot of questions for Corinne. This one's
Let's
from Andreas. It's they all have a similar theme. Why she started working at a company like MeatEater with
that's
minimal
a
hunting
big
experience.
Putting me on the spot. I'll make this short. My background is in journalism and news production. I moved to Montana 7-some years ago. Came upon MeatEater, and I guess the background parlayed into what I do now, but the subject matter did not. And the culinary aspect of MeatEater was always appealing to me. I grew up eating all the things, as I've stated throughout the years, and I've loved the outdoors and just was open to what MeatEater was doing. And
You'd probably never had you even shot a gun?
I had.
You had?
My dad's hobby is firearms.
Yeah.
So
that part wasn't-
indoor range stuff wasn't. Yeah, but long distance rifle, all of that was new to me. And yeah, I was just open to it, and I've loved every bit of it. I've learned so much. I'm so grateful to all of my colleagues for the mentorship. I'm grateful that I have full freezers and I get to get outside and do this for a living. So
Yeah, 7 years later, you're just a stone cold killer, Corinne.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Like,
So I think that's one of our most viewed clips on YouTube is you shooting the hog in Texas in the middle of the podcast.
Oh gosh. I
Pretty
get
badass.
excited thinking about that. I do that all over again.
And this is
Let's
also
go.
I'll say too, that's a credit to Steve finding Corinne, because Steve actively was looking for people and still does look for people that are outside the kind of usual hunting bubble, like who are people that are just killers at their jobs, who are outside of this whole industry.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point.
yeah.
Phil.
Let's see here. Devin asks, hey, is Dan Flores's The American West an extension of the MeatEater podcasters, or is it going to be an upcoming book release? Looks really good. First question, I would say it's neither an extension of the podcast or an upcoming book release. It's going to be on its own feed. So if you haven't checked it out, the trailer is up now. Historian author Dan Flores, who taught Randall at the University of Montana, has a brand new podcast. It's all about the American West, but not sort of like cowboys and Monument Valley. It's going deep further into deep time, first peoples, history of the land itself, the animals that have been there and will be there and are there. It's going to be great. We've recorded a bunch of episodes, getting cracking on them now, and the first episode launches on Tuesday, the
Yep,
6th of May.
On Tuesday. So everybody please subscribe.
Yeah, big
That
thing. It's on
helps
its own
us.
feed.
Yeah.
It's on
Yep.
its own feed, so you're going to have to do some very minor Googling or clicking of links in podcast descriptions. Hey, we should just, I'll make a link in the description of this
Yeah,
show,
yeah.
MeatEater Radio Live
Yeah,
today,
that'd be
a
great.
link to the new Dan Flores American West feed.
And
So check it out.
there will also be accompanying video episodes on right here on the YouTube podcast channel.
We've got some visuals that go along with the show too. So check it out on YouTube as well. And it's not going to be an upcoming book release, but I will direct you to Dan Flores's whole bibliography. That's that the right word?
Yeah.
Especially his last book, which was Why.
His catalog.
Yeah, his whole catalog. Check it out. Very super nice guy, incredibly smart. It's going to be a good show. Samantha says, Phil, don't skip everyone's questions for you. Mogor asks, question for the team. When you're in an area with a game species that requires a lot of glassing, what do you use against mosquitoes? The big mosquito question. You guys have any go-to tips?
Go ahead, Cory.
Oh, man. Last couple springs have been pretty brutal. Bear glassing for bears and trying to swat mosquitoes at the same time. I'm usually prepping my clothes with some permethrin for ticks, but it also works well for mosquitoes. Well, it kind of works for mosquitoes. They still will get you. I don't have a great tip. Just keep swatting them or move around.
I mean, like in the fall, it's just like in this part of the country, it's just not a problem.
Yeah.
But I have hunted in Alaska, like tail end of summer, early fall, where mosquitoes and these little things called white socks, these teeny little biting flies, and really like a head net and gloves is like you can put all the DEET on in the world in that situation, and they're still going to get to you. But yeah, I mean, I know it's not practical for glassing to have a head net on, but I mean, other than permethrin and DEET, there's not a whole lot you can do.
Yeah, wear clothes. Down works well, even if it's hot out. You can wear a light
you know what you
down
could
jacket.
do is as long as you're like glassing far off and it's not going to disturb the critters, like just build a fire.
There you go. Smoke them out.
Smoke them out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. Hope for a breeze.
Cool.
Good question.
Well, I guess I will, just because so many people are asking if I'm going turkey hunting at all this year. Nick says, will Phil T. Engineer be hunting turkeys this season?
It's pretty
Phil
serious.
T.
I have no plans currently, because I always feel weird asking people to take me hunting. But do you know what I would love to do? And because he's not in the room, I don't feel weird about it. And because he's also never shot a turkey yet, as far as I know, I'd love to go out with Randall, because we are both turkey virgins.
There's a video right there.
Boy.
Just go follow you two around.
So Randall, if you're listening, this is my weird passive way of asking you to take me out.
He better be listening.
Cool. I thought that was a pretty good show, guys. What do you think?
Yeah.
Super interesting.
Great show.
Before we go though, I got a little announcement. I want to let people know that the paperback edition of our #1 New York Times bestseller, our kids' book "Catch a Crayfish, Count the Stars," is coming out in paperback on May 27th. So it's just in time for Father's Day and summer vacation for the kids. And if you're not familiar with the book, it's a book that's full of dozens of activities that are going to get your kids off screens and get them outside and doing cool stuff out in the natural world. If you bought the hardcover, great. We appreciate it. Buy the paperback too, because your kids probably already destroyed the hardcover.
Yep.
If you haven't bought the hardcover, then get the paperback now. It's a really cool book. It's got a bunch of great illustrations in it, and my kids love it. I don't know if your kids have gotten into it yet, if they're old enough yet or not, Cory, but it's a great book, and you can get on Amazon and pre-order that thing now, so it'll be at your door the day it comes out.
Yeah, man. Last winter, my kid opened up the book, and the first thing he saw was how to build a fish tank in your house.
Yeah, stock and aquarium.
Yep. And
yep.
we did not go find some little perch.
Well, now is the time to do that now.
Right. That was a winter project.
Yep.
That was fun.
So yeah, that's it for today's show, folks. Good luck to everyone that's headed out turkey hunting or bear hunting this weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Adios.